Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live College Football Edition.
And the crowd goes wild.
My main man Ryan over here, he's been running all day, so he got to get some fuel in him. He got to fuel the jet. What's going on, Ryan?
Just a little bit. How you doing, man? Good. Glad to be here.
Definitely. I'm maintaining, man. So we're gonna, as you know, we're gonna talk some college football. We're gonna talk the 12-team college playoff, and we're gonna get into it a little bit, and of course the conference championship games and what we thought of those. So we're gonna briefly touch on the conference championship games, and we're gonna get into the 12-team playoff, what we thought of the selection, and what we think of maybe some of these first-round matchups, and then we'll go. But before we do, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. But one more thing before we go ahead and get started on the football talk. In case you are not aware, we have opened up memberships, so you are able now to join the channel. If you would so like to do that, we would love to have you. And once we see that start taking off, we're going to go ahead and start posting some members-only content and some cool stuff like that. You know, show love to our members and shout you guys out and all that. Give you some perks. So if you're so inclined, make sure you click that join button on the screen right next to subscribe on your YouTube page. All right, let's get right to it. So Ryan, man, well, you know what? Last weekend, we had the conference championship games, and we'll start with those. But before we even do that, because we know that's going to take up the bulk of this, can we all remember that this Saturday is America's game? This Saturday at 3 p.m. Army versus Navy. So let's all, you know, it might not be Bama versus Georgia or anything like that, but I know to me personally, this game means something. I didn't attend West Point, but I am an Army veteran. And so I will always, until the day I die, be saying, go Army, beat Navy. And I know my guy Transformer is feeling the opposite. But at the end of the day, it's all love between, you know, all of us who served. And so for all of you who served, all of you have any family that served, all of you who love college football, want to see it in kind of a different light with guys playing for something a little bit different, man, check that game out. Army, Navy. And it's going to be a good one, and Army's going to go ahead and take it again. Go Army, beat Navy. Must be said.
That's right. And I think it is going to go that way. I think Army will go out there and handle. They've had a good team all season.
They look good, right?
Yeah, they really do. But it's just an exciting game. I really would have loved to see one of them in the playoffs somehow.
Yeah.
That would have just been great year one. Yeah. But
Army had a chance, but you know, Notre Dame broke that. But they had a chance, and they ended up in the first year in the American Athletic Conference. They ended up winning that conference championship. So shout outs to the Black Knights from West Point. You know, great deal for them. They beat Tulane 35-14. And man, I tell you that quarterback Army has, they call him Captain America. That dude is an absolute beast. I think he's tied with Ashton Jeanty for most rushing touchdowns in the country this year. He's a monster. Yeah,
he is. I didn't know he was tied. That's impressive. That's impressive.
It is. But let's go ahead and let's get right to it, man. Let's run down these conference championship games that we had last week. We'll go through those quickly. Obviously, Boise State won the Mountain West, and that is what ended up getting them the 3 seed in the college football playoff, and we'll talk about that in a bit. They beat UNLV 21-7. Not a particularly impressive outing, but again, this is a run heavy team with Heisman finalist Ashton Jeanty. Ran for another 209 yards, and now that he's got at least one game in the playoffs, he may have a chance to break the single season rushing record of the legendary Barry Sanders. Now, that said, it would be an incredible accomplishment no matter what, but we got to keep in mind that when Barry did this, there was no college football playoff, and they didn't count the bowl game statistics. So Barry Sanders rushed for almost 2,700 yards in, 12 games?
Mhm.
So, I mean,
Crazy.
it's inconceivable. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Ashton Genty has had just an incredible season. So,
Mhm.
So real quick, what do you think of him, and what do you think of his chances to win the Heisman?
I like his game a lot. I think he's a really good running back. He's got a way to kind
Mhm.
of break out speed, run away from guys.
Mhm.
I think Boise's a cool program to just play for also.
Yeah.
The blue turf, just the
Mhm.
history, just thinking
Mhm.
back to what was that, the Fiesta
Oh
Bowl, and they
06.
played Oklahoma. Just like
Uh-huh.
ever since
Yep.
that year, people
Yep.
was like, yo, they play football out there, boys. Okay,
That's right.
that's kind of
Yeah.
cool. So
Yep.
I like his game. Heisman chances, I think, are strong. But it's gonna be hard, in my opinion, to beat somebody
Mhm.
out who's playing on both sides of the ball, getting double
Yeah.
the snaps as everybody.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's supposed to go to the best college football player that
That's
year.
true.
And in my lifetime, I've never seen anybody do it consistently. Now we've seen guys
Right.
who are
Right.
DBs maybe get a package, play
Mhm.
receiver, or receiver get a package, play some DB, but not like, no, you starting here and you starting there and contributing on both sides of the
Yeah.
ball.
We
That's
play like
special.
97, 98% of the snaps. Like, that
That's
doesn't
crazy.
even make sense.
That's
And I
crazy.
saw some say that he might play point guard for the basketball team this year.
Really?
Listen, I would, if I was in his circle, I would advise him, don't do that, man.
Yeah.
Last thing you want is to mess around. Like, athletes are gonna do athletic things, but you
Mhm.
don't want to be out there and mess around, blow out a
Mhm.
knee when
That's
you could
right.
be the number one overall pick. You don't want
That's
to do
right. I'd rather him go run track or do something, do
that. There you
indoor,
go.
outdoor track. Get your
Absolutely.
form right, stay moving around.
Mhm. Great point.
Basketball, you can't do it. But then again, I mean, we've seen all kinds of stories. He's playing
That's
for
right.
for Dion,
That's
and
right. That's right.
he did both.
hmm You're right. You're right. Okay, so the second championship game was the aforementioned AAC championship game, and that was Army defeating Tulane 35-10 in their first year in the American
Mhm.
Athletic. Another good win there. I kind of had touched on that earlier, so we can go ahead and move on past that.
Yeah.
Uh, Western Kentucky versus Jacksonville State. I think this Jacksonville State's first year in FBS. And
Mm.
I believe Rich Rod was the coach, Rich Rodriguez, former West Virginia, Michigan, and Arizona head coach. And they won their conference 52-12. So shouts to Jacksonville State right here in Florida, in Jacksonville. And Rich Rod, they did their thing. So, it's interesting to see, because now the rumors are that Rich Rod may be headed back to West Virginia next season. So, I mean, he played there. He coached there. He's arguably the best football coach in their history.
Right.
And so, even though apparently he left acrimoniously before, there were lawsuits involved and all that, having to do with the money. So I guess they got past it all. I'm sure maybe they have a
Right.
new administration or something like that.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And they're trying to compete.
That's it, right? Yeah.
People are trying to compete. People trying to
Yeah.
get money.
Yeah. This
They
12-2
got
playoff changed a lot of things.
They got Pat McAfee on College Game Day now, vouching for
Mm,
West Virginia every week.
that's right.
So they're waiting on it.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Now let's get up to the Power Four here. The Big Ten, your conference. Oregon beats Penn State. And this, to me, was surprisingly close and maybe showed a little bit of a chink in Oregon's armor. Now, they have been the best team, most complete team all year long. But they won this game 45-37. And I really expected them to really probably blow out Penn State, because James Franklin, as we talked about, he just generally doesn't have his team show up in big games. And again, they lose the big game. So, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I thought Oregon was gonna dominate more, if you will. I was impressed to see Penn State kind of step up to the challenge, because I think a lot of people were thinking that Oregon was going to just kind of roll them. And I saw a lot of physicality on both sides of the ball for both teams, and I thought that was kind of cool. I really saw some Oregon guys running, finishing drives, finishing runs hard, and I thought that was impressive. So I wanted Penn State to win, just to kind of shake things up to see what would really happen. But Oregon looks strong, and they're a favorite to go all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And most people do have them favored in this tournament, which again we'll get to in a bit. But good game overall. But one of the biggest things I saw, and I thought this was interesting, Oregon seems to have a weakness in stopping the run. Ashton Genty ran for 190 against them, I think, in week 2. And that, that's what is that? A group of 5 program against a power 5 program. Now, any given Sunday, right? But any given Sunday, Saturday, Friday, whatever. But we also know that's a really talented back. But still, if you've built this program the way you've built it in the mold of an SEC team along the trenches, defensive, offensive line and such, that probably shouldn't have happened that way to a Dan Lanning team. But we'll see. But here in the Big Ten championship game, Penn State ran for almost 300 on them. So we got to think about that as well. So clearly they have some time because they have a first round bye, but they got to figure out what to do in terms of shoring up that defense against the run. Okay, next one, SEC championship game. This was tough. I thought Texas was going to win this one. We know that Sark is one of the best offensive coaches in the country, one of the best play callers, but just couldn't get it going, man. Quinn Ewers threw for 358, but it didn't look like a great 358, right? So Georgia comes out on top and wins the SEC championship again, 22-19 in overtime. And what were your thoughts on this, man?
There's so much passion in football. There's so much momentum swing. You never know when your time is going to come. You never know when your play is going to need to be made. And I thought it was an exciting game. I like Georgia. I like Carson Beck here. He's from Jacksonville, even though he got dinged up a little bit.
Right.
And I like good storylines too. I think as a Georgia fan, when the backup comes in and plays how he plays, it makes you kind of sit back and say, okay, we might be all right, moving forward. But I thought it was a good game, an exciting game. But yeah, I mean, Georgia looked well. Georgia looked good. I'm still not all the way sold sometimes offensively how they move the ball. I think they, from what I was seeing, were not going for the explosive play as much as they could have. Decision making, things like that. So it's an interesting game. But they came out on top.
Yeah, I don't know that Georgia really has that capability to be explosive in the passing game the way they have been in prior years. I'm really not sure that's a part of their repertoire this season. But what they did was they showed that toughness, right, that Kirby Smart has built in terms of even with a wounded Trevor Etienne, still having a great game running the football, even with the flak jacket on. And, he had the flak jacket on and I guess the bruised ribs. He had the rib injury, and he was still able to rush for 94 yards in this one. Many of them, key when they really needed it most.
Tough running.
And so I think Georgia's just tough, man. They're just a tough team. They're well coached, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I think there is something about this program that knows how to win. Right. They're kind of at that point now. They know how to win, much like Bama was in previous years under Coach Saban. And so I think that culture kind of carries over. Right. And so obviously that got them the SEC championship, the number 2 overall seed, and a bye in the first round. So excuse me. Good one. I don't think Carson Beck is going to be able to go in this 12-team play, at least not in the first game.
Yeah.
And what's this guy's name? Gunnar Stockton. He didn't look particularly impressive, but he adds a different element in that he's more mobile in the offensive game than Carson Beck is. So we'll see what they scheme up for that second round, whether it's Indiana or Notre Dame. So we'll see.
And I think his mobility was the biggest thing that
I think so too.
Texas struggled with, because when a backup comes in who's not playing, or whenever a new player comes in, there's no film on that guy, right?
That's
You're just reacting as the game goes, and they're running reads, they're faking draws, and he's getting 10 yards, he's pulling it and running, and that's something that Carson wasn't having, and it took Texas a little time to adjust, and by the time they adjusted, it was too late.
Yeah. And who knows what his status is? You see, he got knocked out the game as well.
Yeah,
that was a mean hit. Made me remember old school football right there. And it was clean.
It was clean.
It was just mean.
Yeah, it was. It was.
I like that. All right, we'll go Clemson, SMU. Heck of a game here. Heck of a game. Clemson wins another ACC championship. And this is one of those years where maybe you thought it was over for Dabo. I was kind of
Yeah.
feeling that way, especially after the opener when they got bodied by Georgia.
Yep.
But they find their way back and they end up winning the ACC championship, which they are well versed at doing. 34-31 over SMU. And, shouts to SMU, even though they lost this game. That's the second year in a row that they've won 11 games, and their first year in the Power 5 conference, they make it to the conference championship game. So I think that says something about the state of the program and where it's headed going forward. So definitely impressed, and shout outs to Clemson for that. Excuse me. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're Alabama fans here, so we were pulling for SMU to come out, and I think SMU got a little cold up there. They came out a little slow, and I think the game they really rallied back in the end, and I will give them props for that. They really came back, and now I don't know if that was mindset thing or if it was being lackadaisical from Clemson's side of the ball. Because Clemson is known to have kind of those lull periods when teams strike really quickly and then the game gets out of hand. But I think what hurt SMU the most was in the trenches. They couldn't body with some of their guys. Clemson had guys that could just dominate them. And you could just see that, man. SMU is great program, great football team, but just a little bit too small in the trenches in that regard. So I'm interested to see how that's going to look as they prolong through the playoffs, because there's some good offensive defensive linemen that they're going to have to go against the closer they get to play for the national championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this. I think to your point, it was more Clemson kind of taking their foot off the gas and getting a little too conservative, a little too early in the game, which immediately let SMU right back into the thing. And as you well know, when Big Mo start running, then that can change the whole feeling of a game.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and skip Ohio and Miami of Ohio. That was at the MAC conference championship game, and then Marshall at Louisiana was at the Southern Conference. But regardless, we'll skip those. I don't want to be disrespectful to those players, but it's not really anything that anyone is too concerned about. Right. But let's go ahead and let's get right to it, which is kind of the main event here, and that is now we're set for the 12-team college football playoff, and I think that's the big one. That's the thing everybody's thinking about. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. You know what? Before I even do that, we saw the college football playoff reveal show on Sunday afternoon. And you and I texted briefly after those reveals came out. So why don't you go ahead and share what were your immediate thoughts? I guess we'll go to the first topic, and that's obviously Alabama being left out for SMU. Go.
Yeah. Well, again, my wife's from Alabama. Roll Tide all the way. So it's in the blood now. So we wanted Alabama to get in. And I thought if Clemson would have lost, Clemson would have lost, Alabama would have got in. So we needed SMU to win. SMU lost, and then it was going to come down, in my mind, to strength of schedule, seeding, all different kinds of things. And I was really split, to be honest with you. I was hoping that the committee would be more on the side of strength of schedule and who teams beat and how wins looked. And that could have potentially put Alabama still in there. But I also am on the whole regard of why they built this 12-team playoff is to give teams like SMU, these teams that are on the borderline, a chance to get in there and complete for the national championship.
I don't think they built it for that, but I like the fact that it's possible.
Yeah. But that's how I feel, and I think that we're only having this conversation because there's 12 teams, right? SMU, all those borderline. I mean, it would have been Alabama, would have been Miami. Those teams they wouldn't have made it in if it was still how it used to be. So I think all of this chaos is kind of what they wanted to see, and I think they picked right at the end of the day. I think a lot of people are going to be excited that Alabama's not in. And what I have noticed now being on the Alabama side of things, I said, man, this is y'all kind of like the Patriots. Everybody just they coming if they coming at you. You're
Mm-hmm,
getting text
mm-hmm,
messages, phone calls. Like I'm like, okay, all right. I see the mindset now because
right.
I've also been that on the other side, that Patriot hater. But
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I'm big on just trying to keep the main thing, and how things
mm-hmm,
work. And I think the committee did the right thing by
mm-hmm.
putting them in, but I think there was enough people on the committee that said, "Hey, man, Alabama should still be in there." Well, now we don't know how it went vote for vote per vote, but
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And they'll never
Alabama got.
tell us.
Yeah, right. Alabama got some votes to be in there, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So I agree with pretty much all that you just said. I am also torn for different reasons, right? Obviously, I am not an SEC guy. Can't
Mhm,
stand the SEC.
mhm.
Not a fan of Alabama. As you know, I'm diehard Notre Dame. So uh, Alabama monkey stomped Notre
Yes.
Dame in the national championship in 2012, right? Literally, we should not have been on the field with those guys. Quick note, I recently heard Manti Te'o say, this was so interesting. I didn't even know. He said when they were out there for warm-ups, in 2012 and whatnot, and Notre Dame, I think at that point, that season had the number one scoring defense in the country, right?
Mhm,
So he
mhm.
says, when we saw Alabama come out onto the field and we saw the size of those guys, that was the first time I thought, oh boy, we're in trouble.
Mm.
I'm like, that's crazy. Manti Te'o had taken home like every defensive award that year. He was a Heisman finalist. The only one he
Yeah,
didn't get, obviously, was the Thorpe, because that's for defensive backs. But,
right.
he was a Heisman. He was All-American, unanimous, all that stuff. And, yeah, it was not close. It was no match.
And he's not a little person either. Like
No, Manti Te'o's not small.
that's a big man.
Yeah.
He's a player,
Hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah,
for
yeah.
him to say that, that's
Hmm.
interesting.
Well, we know, man. So let me put it this way, right? In either 2015 or 2016, I went to the whatever the bowl was down at the stadium in Orlando. Can't remember.
Mhm.
Notre Dame was down there, and they played LSU, if I'm not
Citrus
mistaken.
Bowl.
Citrus Bowl. Thank you. Yes, we
Mhm.
went to the Citrus Bowl, and I was kind of standing by the tunnel as Notre Dame was coming out,
Right.
and I'm like, these guys are gigantic. And this is like, I saw Quentin Nelson and Mike McGlinchey and those guys walk past
Yeah.
me. And, Notre Dame is known for putting out offensive linemen. And
Right.
I'm like, I think Mike McGlinchey's like 6'8", Quentin Nelson's like 6'5". These dudes both over 300. I'm like, these dudes are monsters. So
Yeah.
the point is, for a Notre Dame team to look at Alabama and say, we saw the size of those guys and said, oh my gosh, we're in trouble. Imagine, the size of the Alabama guys, right?
Right.
But regardless, my thing is this: when it comes to it, Alabama, their fans can't be upset. They have nobody to be upset with but themselves, right? They have this feeling that it is it's birthright that they should be in the playoff every year and
Mhm.
playing for a championship. And I know Nick Saban, with the 6 championships in 18 years, will have you thinking that way. Got it.
Mhm.
But it's not your birthright every year. And really, if you wanted to be there, you shouldn't have got smacked around by a bad Oklahoma team,
Mhm.
right? You shouldn't have went to Vandy and got beat by them, which I love it. Vandy's head coach is Notre Dame's former defensive coordinator. Go Vandy.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, you win those games, you beat clearly inferior teams. We don't have
Yeah.
this discussion.
Yeah.
But what I really think is the issue, and especially from a guy like Greg Sankey, is that the Big Ten got 4 teams in and the SEC only got 3. And he can't abide by that. That's driving him crazy, right? Because the whole narrative, it just means more, and the SEC is by far the best, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
So now you have the other conference, the other major conference, getting more teams in than you, and it's making you blow a gasket. And that's what Greg Sankey, that's what the Alabama fans, that's what the SEC fans, they're all going nuts. Like, wait a minute, how do we have all these teams from up north and out west, and they're
Mhm.
getting more in the playoffs than we are? That's not right.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
think that's a big thing. But I will say this now. I do agree with you that the committee got it right, but there was a part of me that wanted Alabama to get that. What was that? Well, at the time, I thought Notre Dame was probably going to end up
Right.
5th because
Right.
Penn State had got beat. And regardless, Notre Dame got a first-round home game. What I wanted was for Alabama to have to go up there next Friday night and
Mhm.
play against Notre Dame in South Bend at about 25, 30 degrees at night,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? With what is it? I looked at the extended forecast, like icy drizzle,
Mhm.
the coldest weather most of these guys would ever have experienced. I wanted them to go up there and
Right.
deal with that and Notre Dame go ahead and get the job done. That's what I wanted. So I was a little bit sad that Bama didn't get in, but I got over that quickly.
Right. I feel you. And I think, and I can speak for my household,
Yes,
right?
sir.
We know that this is not the same Alabama team, right?
No, it's
Alabama knows, and we're confident in, hey, we left some money out there. We left some plays out there. You know, if Jalen Milroe ain't rolling, we're not winning the game. Period. Like, if he's not running for at least a touchdown, we're not winning the game, which is tough. And they didn't win the games that they needed to win. I think in college football and now moving forward, we're going to see that, hey, wins are going to matter. Now there are talks of like, well, losses. Or losses, right? Or, you know, do those games really matter? I am starting to see some headlines, some questioning, some lights. Okay, well, hey, well, if this team's in, what's the point of trying to play all these big name teams if, you know, we don't win or whatever happens? So I'm interested to see what's really going to go down. But for me, at least, I know this wasn't the best Alabama team.
Right.
And if they were supposed to be in the playoffs, they would be in the playoffs, and it would have been not non-negotiable, if that makes sense. Like there would have been no doubt that Alabama's in. But we can see the difference between the two different programs when Nick Saban's running it and when someone else is running it.
Right.
So we'll see how they bounce back and what they can do to make these corrections moving forward. But every win matters. Every game matters.
Yeah. So my last Alabama thought before we kind of move on here is that I understand that Nick Saban has set the bar incredibly, incredibly high. And this is kind of where they say you never want to be the guy that's after the guy. You want to be the guy that replaces the guy that replaces the guy. And unfortunately, Kalen DeBoer walked into a situation where he's replacing the guy.
Right.
And so even though 9-3 is a very solid season for most programs, that's not where Alabama's standard is. He's a different kind of personality. He has, you know, a different culture he's trying to in place. And you know what it is when you get a new head coach trying to bring in his culture and his ideas, and he's bringing in his staff. And, you know, while he's trying to pay respect and homage to what Coach Saban has built, he's also got to do his own thing. And now you got a number of guys, I was just reading about it today, heading for the transfer portal, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to see, because Kalen DeBoer is an outstanding coach, right? This is the same guy who with Washington was in the national championship game last year. So he's a really good coach. He can coach quarterbacks. He can coach offense. So we'll see what happens heading down the road here. But at the end of the day, I am no longer bothered that Alabama's not in the tournament. So that's okay for me. That's okay.
Right.
Oh, man. So let's do this. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to post the brackets here. And I guess we'll just get your general thoughts on it. Overall, did you like the rest of the seeding? And what games kind of are standing out to you? And what do you think is, I guess, the outcome? Or maybe we can save that for another episode, what you think the outcome is. But first, let's go with, did you like the seeding overall?
Yeah, I think that, and I didn't really understand exactly how and where they were going to seed people. One of the seedings that I'm not thrilled is probably Boise State, just off of who they've had to play to basically get that first round bye. But again, I can't say which conference weighs more. You know, all those kind of things. Arizona State, cool to see them get a bye. Again, I don't really know how all that works, but I could see them playing in the first round. But they won a really good game against a great Iowa State team, so they deserve to get what they can do. So I would really just say Boise State, just because of how they kind of got in. But everything else I think was good. Indiana to get in there, that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, so Indiana, I'm hoping that Notre Dame can put a butt whooping on them, because they're here talking now, talking about, you know, this is a rivalry, and, you know, Indiana's a football school now. And I'm like, man, hold on. You're a basketball school, bro. Chill with all that, you know? And so they got to come up to South Bend, which, let me make a note on that. I didn't like that because, as I've been talking to you about, and as I mentioned earlier in this show, I was hoping that we got Alabama, or really any Southern team, having to come up there to South Bend and deal with that weather. And again, you being a guy born in Miami, grew up in Florida, you know what it is to have to go up there and experience that type of cold that you've never experienced before, right? And it can certainly change how Yes, Transformer. I was hoping that. What's up, brother? What's up? I absolutely was hoping that. Yes, no question about it. But yeah. So you know what it is and how much that can affect you when your body is not conditioned to it, right?
Right.
Now, obviously, you played 4 years at Illinois, so you know you got conditioned to it. But I'm quite sure that early on in your first season, you were like, "Whoa," you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, at the end of my career, I still was like, whoa. It was, I mean, I was in Canada, like, man, I would give some of my check so it could be all hot games. Like, I'll deal with that,
Right.
like,
Right. Right.
because it's just a different aspect to the game.
Uh-huh.
And I really think people just like that atmosphere. People just like
Hmm.
that rough, oh, this is football weather. No,
Yeah.
it's not. This is
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Let's get in the dome. Let's make it nice. That's football weather. Let's see who
No,
can
no, no, no,
really
no.
play.
No, no, no. But no, you know, to me, them seeding Notre Dame where they did and then Indiana where they did
Right.
completely removes the home court advantage for us, the
Yep.
home field, excuse me,
Yep.
because we don't really get to take advantage of the weather because we've got a team in the same state that is, you know, well versed in
That
that.
gets
And
cold. Indiana,
yeah,
where
and
they're at gets
also
cold. Yep.
they're only a couple hours away, so a bunch of their fans, if they can get hands on tickets, can be there. So
Mm-hmm.
we may not even necessarily have the large crowd advantage, right, that we
Mm-hmm.
would have had, say, Alabama or an SMU, you know, or Clemson or whatever had
Right.
come up there to play us. We don't have that. We don't have the weather. It's like, come on. And then what do we get rewarded with? Georgia in the second round. Now it's not the same Georgia, granted, but
Right.
like, come on, man. We fought all year for this, and this is what we got out of it. What up, Bruce? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Bruce says he's cheering for SMU. That's interesting. I wonder what's. Oh, I know why. Yeah, but you know, so I felt like it totally took away the point of, you know, what we fought for all year to get that home playoff game. And I think I could be wrong. I truly feel like the committee was like, hey, what more do you want? You know, you're in, you got your home playoff game. Shut up, stop whining and go play ball.
Right.
Because Notre Dame agreed to the conditions under which they would be allowed in this college football playoff. And now you're here, you just got to play ball. So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe we're Notre Dame is on to the second round, and then Georgia, which will be a challenge, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
Can be done. I mean, Georgia's recently has been going to the ropes with people. And if you play physical and play with them, they might not come out on top.
yeah, no, and Notre Dame. This is I've said this. This is probably the fastest, most athletic defense I've ever seen them have. They've got depth, they've got speed, they've got strength, they've got size. This is really impressive. Now, all that clearly will be tested against a team like Georgia, right?
Right.
And Notre Dame has also one of the best running back rooms in the country. So again, that O-line and that run game will be tested against a team like Georgia. We have not played a team that has those sort of athletes and speed on defense yet, but we'll see. And also, but like I've always said, and you know this, with a guy like Riley Leonard, who's a mobile quarterback, now you take away the advantage of the defense, being that most defenses get to play 11 on 10, right? Because most quarterbacks aren't super mobile. But when you now add a very mobile quarterback into the field, you have to play, you know, one-on-one because you have to account for that guy as well. So
Right.
I think that's something of an advantage we have.
Right. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Excuse me. Yeah, so let's see. Bruce likes SMU. He's rooting for the underdog. And that's funny because in college football, I normally like the underdog as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I was, you know, last few years I've been watching UCF out of the side of my eye for years. I was a kind of Boise State guy, mainly because I just like the fact that those small schools were upsetting the apple cart a bit.
Right.
And I kind of like that. Let's see. Besides the playoff, what other bowl
They got
games you're
I
interested
think
in?
it's going to be tough for them. I think they're really going to have to win in the trenches, SMU, just because Penn
I don't
State's
think they
going to be
can.
Penn State's going to be big and physical, and
Mm-hmm.
if
That's right.
SMU can't do that,
Yeah.
that's going to be a long game. And they're
Long
going
game.
up to Happy Valley. Boy,
Oh, that's right.
come on now, that
You
place
see,
is
that's the type
real.
of situation I was talking about. See why we couldn't get that. But no, absolutely. This is an opportunity for James Franklin to get another big win. And I do believe they beat SMU. For the point you mentioned, Penn State is also very fast, athletic, and strong on defense. and it will be cold up there. So them boys from Dallas might have some issues, but I
Loud too.
don't think they're going
It's
to
a
be able
loud
to deal with
stadium.
Penn State running the ball. Say again.
It's a loud stadium up there too. So
Yeah,
it's going to
that's
be
right.
cold. It's going to be rowdy. And
Buck 05. Yeah.
Penn State's going to be comfortable out there. They're going to seem comfortable. So we'll see.
You
They
think
can
they're
do it
gonna?
though. They can do it. But since they beat Alabama, or since they lost to Clemson, and we feel like Alabama could have possibly had that slot, of course we're going for Penn State over here.
No doubt, no doubt. Man, you're a Langford. You should be going for Penn State
That's
anyway.
right. Yeah, that too.
No doubt. Excuse me. I will say that second round matchup though, Penn State, Boise State, that could be a good one. You have two power running teams there, so I guess it's going to come down to who can stop the run, right? So,
where would that game be? Are they still at? They start doing
no.
neutral
So the
sites at that
second
time?
round they start going out to these traditional bowl sites. Like for instance, I know the second round game, whoever plays Georgia, that's in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl. The other ones I would have to check. I'm not sure. I know Oregon is going to play at the Rose Bowl because location wise. So I guess the other two would be what, the Cotton and the Orange, I guess. Yeah. So I'm not sure which is which though. I didn't check. I should have. Matter of fact, let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the Arizona State second round game would be at the Peach Bowl, Atlanta. Okay, there we go. So the second round Boise State game is at the Fiesta Bowl. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right, and then Georgia's in the Sugar, and so the winner of the second round Georgia Boise State game is going to go to the Orange Bowl. The winner of the second round Arizona State Oregon game is going to go to the Cotton Bowl. And then the national championship game is where's that? I think that's in Atlanta.
Atlanta, right? I think.
Yeah. So all right, let's flip to the other side of the bracket. Let's see. I'm running good. Tennessee and Ohio State. That's a tough one. And this is interesting to me because I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, if Ohio State loses this game, Ryan Day is done. I mean, I think he's done already, but
because Tennessee's a great football team, but I don't know if they could play with Ohio State.
Their defensive line is crazy though, and so it's a function of if Ohio State calls the game properly. Michigan showed the blueprint, right?
That's true. That's really true. You're right. That's true.
Yeah.
And we didn't say Penn State victory for sure. We just know SMU is going to have to bring their A+ game, in my opinion, especially in the trenches. And mistakes. I didn't check the turnover. Who had the most turnovers?
I didn't check that either. That's a big one.
I don't remember, but I feel like SMU had a few turnovers. And turnovers.
That's a big one. Let me see if I can get back to that. Bruce, what I'll say is the reason I'm picking Penn State is because I don't think SMU is going to be able to stop Penn State on the ground. To Ryan's point, I think that Penn State is going to be too big and too physical in the trenches. They're not SMU is not going to be able to deal with that. Now, if I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. Which
now SMU does have some good receivers.
They do, and that kid they got, that quarterback.
I don't remember watching Penn State's cornerbacks as closely as I should have. But that could probably be.
Oh yeah, Drew Aller.
That could probably be the deciding or key factor for SMU, because I really feel like the receivers is what brought the game back for them against Clemson. Those guys are making big catches, yards after the catch, breaking tackles. That really helped them get back into the game.
Right. The game against Oregon, that was like Drew Aller's best game. Like he played really well in that game. I was surprised because normally, for whatever reason, like these quarterbacks that James Franklin gets, they don't do well. So let's see. Looks like Clemson won the turnover battle in the SMU game 0-1.
Okay.
So SMU had one, and oh no, here we go. SMU lost one fumble and threw one interception. So they had two turnovers and Clemson had none. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the interception, but I was like, I don't know if there was anything else.
Yep.
But that's gonna be key.
Yeah.
that momentum. They throw a pick up there or
Yeah,
fumble or a
yeah.
turnover up there. But SMU can play, and that's another thing. You can quiet Penn State. You can. We went up there. Did we lost that game and we beat them 1 year. Silent in there. Tons of people, but it was like, yo, we came in, played, made our plays. Defense was strong. Offense was moving the ball well, and they couldn't do anything but watch. So that opportunity is there, but they're gonna have to bring it.
Yeah, they got to play perfect. And I don't. To your point, I don't think they have enough in the trenches, enough bricks in their back pocket, right? But yeah, this Tennessee Ohio State game, Tennessee's offense is not great. If Ohio State plays the type of ball they're capable of playing and really turn this into a perimeter game, Tennessee can't win, right? But if they want to try and get into a rock fight because they want to prove how tough they are, well, they're going to lose that one, just like they lost to Michigan. So that's interesting. And we could see Ohio State and Oregon again, so
I would love to see Tennessee win, though. That would be cool.
Would you?
I would. That'd be cool to see. And
you know what? That's another game where the weather is going to be a factor.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's, 90 degrees in Tennessee right now, but I think it'll be a lot different than Columbus, right? So
right. That's true.
Yeah. And then finally, the last part of the bracket is Texas and Clemson. I think Texas has to be the favorite, but I don't think this is I wouldn't favor them by a lot, man. Dabo's a good big game coach. I'm not a big fan of his, but he's got a couple national championships under his belt. I think he's got 7 college football playoff appearances. He's 8-1 in the ACC championship game. Like, the dude knows how to coach in big games. So yeah, but Texas has one of the best rosters in the country, and Sark's one of the best offensive play callers. And Clemson is built in the trenches where they can almost match up with Texas. So similar thing, right?
Yeah, they're Texas looks good. They did a really good job of preparing for the SEC, in my opinion. They did. Guys, they look like a SEC.
Yeah, they built it the right way.
They really did. And again, like you said, Dabo's a big game coach, and he'll get his guys together. Again, it's cool to see, because we know his stance about paying guys and that kind of stuff. So it's cool to see at least a team like that in the playoffs, to see what happens. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think Texas will most likely win. But again, it would be cool to see if Clemson wins. I want them to go all the way, probably.
Well, in this game,
that'd be tough.
In this game, I'd root for Clemson because I always root against the SEC.
Yeah.
So let's say if Clemson wins this thing, they're going to beat Arizona State in the next one.
I agree.
Yeah, so they could get all the way to the semis. So
I agree. Yeah, they probably will. They probably would be.
Yeah, so they know that they just got to get past Texas. But so I just found out today, listening to another college football podcast. I didn't know. Excuse me, but I guess they're both Texas guys. Quinn Ewers and Cade Klubnik have a rivalry going back to high school. I didn't know that.
Wow.
Right. So that adds another level of intrigue to this Texas and Clemson game. Definitely. So that's pretty cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're obviously, these guys are competitors. They're going to want to show each other up. So I like that.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. Sir. I'm trying to see how they got Texas favored to win. Yeah, that'll be.
Yep. All right, well, let's do this. We got a loyal listener who wants to call in. So Bruce, man, go ahead, give us a call. Let's hear what you got to say, man. Yeah, we'll take a couple calls and then we'll get out of here. Yeah, while we're waiting for Bruce, man, I think this 12-team playoff, I think, has worked out the way it's supposed to. I like it. And I hear in a couple of years they're looking at bumping out to 16. But again, the thing I do not like is that the Big 12 and the SEC both want a guaranteed number of slots, which again defeats the purpose of having a playoff. So let's not do that. Let's not. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't like it. Bruce, go ahead, give us a call, man. We're waiting on you. But yeah, I don't like that at all. Like, I understand the premise. They're like, hey, we're the money makers. We're pumping into this thing. We're the big boy conferences. But no, see, I don't like the idea of teams playing hard all year, and then you telling them, yeah, what you played for meant nothing because, you know, you don't have the right brand name. Mm-hmm. Like I always say, if you earn the right to, you know, get your butt kicked, go out there and get your butt kicked, but at least you earned that opportunity, you know? And I'm always going to go back to, you know, the argument that I made, like half of the Super Bowls have been blowouts. So let's stop this. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. All right, let's take this call. Bruce, what's going on, my man?
How y'all doing, man, today, man?
Doing all right, Bruce. Good to hear from you.
Doing well.
Always a pleasure. Hey, man, listen. I'm sorry to say this, man, but this damn playoffs ain't shit without Alabama in it.
Oh, my God.
Let them know. Let them know.
I got a crazy theory.
No, this is great. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. I would have put Alabama and Colorado in, man. Fuck it. Somebody would have been the odd man out because of the star power. I'm sorry.
I understand where you're coming from, but again,
sorry.
But Bruce, at the end of the day, right? And you know where I am on this, right? At the end of the day, sports are about what? What are they based on? Competition.
Winning. Competition.
Right. And so it can't always be that, we're looking at, you know, we're looking at the money and we're looking at the star power. Like, if teams earn their way there, let them compete. You can't be telling these cats like you wasted a whole season because we don't want you there. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah, it just seems odd without Alabama in the mix. No, it does. Weird, ain't it, bro?
No, not at all.
I take it you're not a Roll Tide fanatic, huh?
I'm a Notre Dame fan, so no, absolutely not. I detest every single team in the SEC.
I really like what I saw from SMU this weekend, man. They are brilliant. The quarterback, what's his name again? The quarterback, he reminds me of someone.
Yeah, the quarterback is Kevin Jennings. Yeah, he was good though. Yeah, he was good.
They say he was like ranked 1,000 in the country or something. He was ranked real low, like he wasn't even on radar. They always be the ones that turn out, right?
It seems that way, right? Chip on the shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield walked on twice.
I just don't. James Franklin, man, I never liked him. There's something about his glasses and the way he looks.
No, my problem is that he doesn't generally show up in big games. That's my problem.
Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, I would love to see Aston Genty against Texas or somebody with a stout defense. That would be, or Georgia.
Well, if they,
Carson back?
Sorry.
How?
No, sorry to cut you. I was going to say if they get Penn State in round 2, that will be somebody with a staunch defense.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. Yeah. Hey, man, it would have been a beautiful thing if Colorado was in this damn playoffs, though. That
would have been real cool. That would have been super exciting. I agree.
In Alabama, like
no, not Alabama, man. Get over it. Leave that alone, man. Not Alabama. Yeah, what's up? If you had one chance, if you could replace Colorado with one team on this bracket, who would it be? Great question. Let me put it back up here. So I got to pull one team out and put Colorado in.
Yes.
Indiana.
Oh wow, because it's Indiana.
well, not just that, but honestly, because we know what type of elite passing attack Colorado has, and I would love to test Notre Dame's secondary against it. Notre Dame has one of the best secondaries in the country, so I would love to see the defensive offensive matchup there. I think that would be insane.
Okay, Arizona State got a tough running back named Skatebow or something.
Cam Scatterbo. Yeah,
he's nice.
He's a beast. He's a beast.
He's a Raven. I'm wondering if he's going to last. He's a Raven for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, man, over SMU with the underdog. You know, I'm always going to go with the underdog.
That's cool.
Team.
That's what's up.
Notre Dame, Indiana. I think that's going to be a great. I just can't wait, man.
I can't wait either.
Man. Besides that, what other bowl games y'all interested in watching?
Honestly, I can't even lie to you. I've been so wrapped up in the 12-team playoff, I haven't checked. But we'll you know what? We will definitely make that a topic of discussion on next week's show.
Okay, my man.
We'll do that.
I got Illinois and South Carolina.
That's right. Illinois and South Carolina.
Illinois and South Carolina.
What about Colorado, BYU?
Why would they put a Big 12 matchup in this?
All right. That's everybody talking about.
Why would they do that? No, jeez.
Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. They should have put Colorado against somebody else. We can see Colorado versus BYU anytime. Mm-hmm. Part of the thing about the bowl games is we get to see teams that don't normally play match up.
I would have loved to see them against Miami. Cam Ward against, that would have been beautiful.
That would have been beautiful.
That would have been cool.
Great call. Yep. Colorado would have shredded them because Miami has no defense. They would have got shredded.
Hey, man, but you come scared me. Brent Ewers from Texas.
Quinn Ewers, yeah.
I like Manning a little bit better, but Ewers, he's just a wild card, man.
He is. And it's weird because he very quietly threw for like 350 against Georgia. But everyone's like he played badly, you know? So
I don't know, maybe it's the way he looks. But I appreciate the man. Let me call in, man, early today, bro. I appreciate it. I see.
No doubt, brother. Yep. All right, man. Have a good one. All right, team. What we're going to do, we're going to leave it right here. Thanks again, Ryan, for stopping in and giving us a quick talk on this 12-team college football playoff here. And we will be back next week, man. We'll look into some of the other bowl games that might be exciting and see what we think about that. And we'll also maybe see about playing out the brackets and see who we've got coming out at the end of this thing.
That's right.
All right. Well, listen, thanks to everybody who tuned in. I appreciate y'all. Always appreciate my main man, Ryan. So make sure if you haven't already, click that like and subscribe on the way out. Click the share button. It's powerful. And also, if you're so inclined, click that join button, become a member of the channel. Thanks a lot, y'all. We will be back and we out. Peace.